Hey look, it's me. I'm sitting over there. Probably. Sorry if you're one of the 8 billion people who aren't my direct family, because that joke's not going to work for you. Anyway, we're having a conversation right now. Sort of. I'm talking at you and you're listening intently and laughing at all my mastercrafted jokes. It's kind of a limitation to the video format. This is pre-recorded, and unless I'm in the room with you, I can't answer your questions or converse with you directly. When writing any piece of art that uses video as a medium, as the story is revealed, artists have to attempt to predict what questions the viewer will have, and then answer them within the script. So, for example, the answer to your question right now is, "It's not that much longer, I promise." This, of course, has its limitations. What happens if the viewer has an unanticipated question? And what happens if an answer isn't a satisfactory one? What if they just don't care about any potential answers? Solution: interactivity. Ah shit, this is about video games again, isn't it? Conversations are such a natural and common part of human existence that it's rare we ever have to consider what they are or how we have them. If we take the barest of bones definition, we could call a conversation a talk between two or more people, and from that we could construct some interpretations of having a conversation in a game. Let's have a look at some examples, starting from the ancient era known as the 1990s. This is Fallout. It came out in 1997, and I'm choosing this mostly to start with because it's in my Steam library. It's not the first game to involve conversing, but it is also an excellent example of how early game development attempted to answer the question of how a player should be able to talk to its characters. So let's just go after someone and start talking. Jesus Christ! Okay, but seriously, this is actually the exception rather than the rule. Most characters you talk to don't have models like this. Rather, you get the same isometric view you had before, but focused on them. Your brain is left to fill in the gaps from the abstraction, and there's a lot of gaps. You'll notice you have a bunch of dialogue options to choose from. You click on one of them and the person you're talking to instantly responds. There's no voice acting for the player character, again that's up to your very wrinkly brain. You have an ask button, where you can ask any questions you'd like if the pre-written ones don't satisfy you. This is, however, incredibly rudimentary. As far as I know, it looks for one of a list of specific words and responds with the relevant information. There was no ChatGPT back in 1997, let me tell you kids. As time went on, developers strayed away from this function, as it proved too cumbersome and awkward to use, but the dialogue choices remained. Anyway, we've achieved conversation. Look, it's two characters, talking, more or less. What's there more to talk about here? Well, it's not exactly the most convincing depiction of a conversation, is it? You don't have a conversation by non-verbally standing still in front of another person, do you? It's just too abstracted from real life. So, let's get more immersed. This is Fallout New Vegas, which came out in 2010. You'll notice it's quite similar to the previous example, but with some significant additions to immerse the player more. Lip sync is more accurate, every character you speak to has voice dialogue, they even have little animations like nodding and talking with their hands. But I don't know about you, but I find myself asking, is this actually better? Sure, the characters look less like they were made with clay and hope, which the originals actually were, and the voice acting is pretty good. But personally, I find it's just not believable still, and strangely, in a way, the Fallout 1 doesn't suffer from. I'm sure you've already heard about the uncanny valley, the principle that we like things that are more believable until we reach a point where something is convincing enough to trick one part of our brain that it's real, but looks fake enough to a point where it disturbs. I think New Vegas suffers from a similar problem. We've created a more realistic, more immersive conversation, but it's less convincing. No longer are the characters standing completely frozen and non-verbal, but it's still not enough for the brain to be convinced that it's real. And what's worse for the brain is that it's no longer working with an almost blank canvas. In other words, there are less gaps to fill in, but what gaps have been filled in with a less convincing facade than what our brains would typically do. This leads to us having a disconnect between us and the world the game attempts to immerse us in. It's hard to believe these characters are human, or even that we, the player character, are human. It just isn't how humans interact. And thus, it's hard to get invested in the effects that we cause in this world. Let's take a look at what I consider to be the best example of video game conversations, and what the developers used to get us fully immersed in their world. Cyberpunk 2077, released in 2020. Also, sorry, but this is going to contain spoilers. Major ones. For Phantom Liberty as well. So, yeah, just don't watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Sorry. Cyberpunk's dialogue system is different from Fallout and Fallout New Vegas, in that the player character is A, voiced.
Okay, so let me hear what this is all about.
And B, capable of performing actions within the conversation.
The lord ass who punching animal fucked half of Pacifica? And he ain't dead?
No, he's alive, well, and kicking. He sends his regards.
In previous games, any conversation essentially happened on another plane of existence, one where time stopped and no harm could be done until the conversation was over. Cyberpunk seamlessly integrates the ability to have a conversation into the dynamic world as it is. This includes adding extra specific options that would make sense within the context of the conversation, like drinking, smoking, or others. Also, yes, that's Keanu Reeves in a cyberpunk work of fiction. Who could have seen that coming? What's next? A red pill, blue pill dichotomy? Oh, come on! Additionally, neither the player character nor the non-player characters are locked into a specific spot. You'll see them lean and sit on objects in the environment, pace around when distracted, even interact with the player character themselves. When we design conversations, we have to be cognizant of all the ways a human being can communicate. Dr. Albert Mehrabian, who I'm probably mispronouncing, drew up a theory that we can split human communication into 3 sections: body language, tone and pitch of voice, and finally the actual words we use. These are not evenly split. Dr. Mehrabian divides them so that when we talk to someone, 55% of the information passed is through body language, 38% through the voice, and a mere 7% through the words themselves. Take a look at the following.
Got a voice in my head, see? An engram. One of your personality constructs.
Engram?
Yeah. I stole the relic Yorinobu tried to peddle off on Netwatch. While I was making my escape, I got a bullet to the brain. Relic saved me. But now, the damn thing's killing me. And I gotta stop it.
Hanako-sama, he is living proof of the terrible crime your brother committed. We can confirm every word he speaks, if only you will help him with the relic. Hanako-sama.
From body language alone, we can determine so much about the character's thoughts. Hanako's calm, elegant demeanor implies significant composure. She seems in control of the situation despite essentially being a hostage in this scene. Contrast this with Takemura's fidgeting hands. He's clearly anxious and tense, perhaps in a state of desperation. Keanu in the back there is distancing himself, both physically and metaphorically, from these two characters and their conversation. He trusts neither. Let's not forget that art is designed to bring out emotions in people, and the framing of these conversational scenes is critical to achieving this. Lighting, for example, can create a shady scene in every sense of the word.
A surprisingly deterministic conclusion for a man of science.
Music and sound can literally sink you into an atmosphere.
Why are you showing me this?
Want to get the right emotional reactions. Got a feeling this will be perfect for my experiment.
Why's this stand to be perfect?
Hoping you'll be able to pick up all the unfiltered mess of emotions this place brings out in me. Like it or not, you'll react to those feelings. That's what I want to capture.
All of these contribute to creating convincing characters, and equally important, a living, breathing world. Any decisions you make as the player are immeasurably more impactful when you believe you're affecting actual people rather than lines of code. Games are unique in this regard. In my opinion, no other medium can as effectively make you feel emotions. When you make the decisions, you feel the repercussions.
Dying. It's my only hope. Only way out. Please be.
Somi, I can't. That's not a solution.
Is the only solution. I'm begging you, V.
freedom. You deserve it, Somi. I'll do it.
Thank you. And I'm sorry for everything.
This has been your yearly reminder that video games are pretty cool, and I don't have much else going on in my life.